In this video we are going to study a very interesting game in which you will learn to master the Scandinavian defense, which is a very aggressive defense and very easy to play. After the move e4, black responds with d5. A very aggressive move, which immediately attacks the opponent's central pawn and forces white to make a decision. Now, if white wants to fight for the advantage, his only alternative is to capture the pawn. White wants to force the black queen out into the open fields, so that it is exposed and then they can attack it. Now, black can play knight to f6, with the idea of capturing on d5 with the knight. But the simplest way to continue is queen takes d5. It is true that the black queen is exposed, but it is not serious. White can play knight c3, gaining a tempo by attacking the opponent's queen. Now, black has several possible retreats. He can return to his initial square, or he can go to the d6 square. But the easiest move is queen a5. Here the queen will be very well placed, since when white advances with d4 the knight on c3 will be pinned. Now black's development is very easy. If white moves his king's knight, black develops his king's knight. If white makes the d4 move, then the threat bishop d2 can be uncomfortable. Therefore, black responds with c6, opening up the c7 square to be able to retreat his queen to a safer square, in case white wants to attack it with bishop d2. If white develops his king's bishop on the d3 square, to take control of the f5 square and not let the black bishop develop on that square. Black can play bishop g4, pinning the knight on f3 and threatening to capture it. Black can follow up with moves like e6, knight b to d7. The king's bishop can be developed on e7, d6 or b4, and finally black can castle on either flank, depending on the circumstances. After the move c6, white's best option is bishop c4. Black can play bishop f5, developing his queen bishop to its best square. Black can follow up with moves like e6, knight b to d7, bishop e7 or d6 or b4, and then can castle on either flank. Now, white's best move is knight e5, threatening to capture the f7 pawn. Black answers e6, blocking the enemy bishop's action. White can play g4, which is his best option, since if he does nothing active, black will complete his development unhindered. White's plan is to attack the light-squared bishop. Now, black has two options. For example, he can retreat his bishop to the g6 square. White can play h4, with the idea of following h5 to attack the light-squared bishop. Black can play knight b to d7, threatening to capture the knight on e5. After knight takes d7. Knight takes d7. White can play h5, trying to trap the enemy bishop. Black can play bishop e4 and the white knight is pinned and cannot capture the black bishop. The rook on h1 is attacked. White can castle and is threatening to capture the bishop on e4. After bishop d5. White can play knight takes d5. After c takes d5. Bishop d3. White has captured the bishop pair, but black's position is very strong and the white king may be exposed, as the white pawns in his castling are very advanced. After the move g4, black can also bring his bishop to the e4 square, since the knight on c3 is pinned. If white now castles, black answers bishop d5 and has good play. And if white plays f3, attacking the bishop. Black plays bishop d5 and can continue with moves like knight b to d7, then can develop his king's bishop and finally can castle on either flank. From here we are going to continue a master game in which white played queen d3. Black played knight b to d7, developing the queen's knight and threatening to eliminate the knight on e5. After knight takes d7. Knight takes d7. White played bishop d2, completing the development of his minor pieces and aiming against the opponent's queen. Black played bishop b4, completing the development of his minor pieces, with the idea of exchanging pieces and simplifying the position. White castled on the queen side. Black played bishop takes c4, eliminating the opponent's good bishop. After queen takes c4. Black played bishop takes c3, eliminating the knight and leaving the opponent with his bad bishop. After bishop takes c3, black played queen d5, with the idea of exchanging queens and leading the game to an endgame in which the knight will be much better than the bishop. White played queen b3, preventing the exchange of queens and threatening to capture the b7 pawn. Black played b5, defending the b7 pawn, gaining space on the queen side and taking control of the white squares in this area. Now, white played f4, with the idea of attacking with f5 and trying to open lines and attack the black king, which is still in the center without castling. Black played h5, with the idea of breaking the attack front of the opponent's pawns. If white plays h3, to reinforce the defense of the g4 pawn, white can play knight b6 and has a very good game. In the game, after the move h5, white played rook h to g1, to try to activate his rook. Black played h takes g4, opening the h-file to activate the rook. After rook takes g4, the g7 pawn is attacked. Black played g6, to defend the g7 pawn and consolidate his pawn's position. White played rook g to g1. Black played queen takes b3, exchanging queens to simplify the position and reach an advantageous endgame. After it takes b3. Black played rook h5 and has a clear strategic advantage. White played bishop e1, with the idea of bringing his bishop to the g3 square. But black played rook takes h2, capturing a pawn. White played f5, trying to create counterplay. Now it would be a mistake to capture with the g-pawn, since white can checkmate with the rook on the back rank. After knight f8. White plays bishop b4 and wins. In the game after f5, black played e takes f5. White played bishop g3, attacking the opponent's rook. After rook e2. White played rook h1, threatening to check on the back rank. Black castled on the queen side. White played rook h7, threatening to capture the f7 pawn. Black played rook f8, to defend the pawn. If now white plays bishop d6 attacking the rook. Black plays knight f6, counterattacking the opponent's rook. After rook g7. Black plays rook d8 attacking the bishop. After, for example, bishop e5, the black knight is attacked. Black can play knight g4 and has an advantage. For example, after rook takes f7. Black plays knight takes e5. After d takes e5, black plays rook takes d1 check. And after king takes d1. Rook takes e5. An easily won endgame for black has been reached. For example, if white captures the a7 pawn. Black plays f4 and wins easily. The white king is blocked and will not be able to prevent the black pawns from promoting on the king side. After the move rook f8, white played d5, trying to create counterplay. But black played knight f6 attacking the rook on h7. The game continued rook h3. Black played knight takes d5, capturing another pawn. Black is 3 pawns up and his advantage is decisive. White played c4, trying to attack desperately. Black played b takes c4. After b takes c4. Black played knight e3, threatening to capture the opponent's rook. Bank played rook d6, threatening to capture the c6 pawn. Black played rook c2 check. After king b1. Black played rook takes c4 and now the c6 pawn is defended. White played b3, attacking the opponent's rook. Black played rook c5. White played rook d3 threatening to capture the knight. Black played f4, defending the knight and opening up the f5 square. White played bishop takes f4. Black played knight f5, placing his knight on a good square. White played rook h7, attacking the f7 pawn, to try to tie the enemy rook to the defense of said pawn. Black played rook d5, with the idea of exchanging pieces and simplifying the position. White played rook c3, attacking the c6 pawn. Black played king b7, to defend the c6 pawn. White played bishop c1, with the idea of following bishop a3, to attack the f8 rook and then be able to capture the f7 pawn. Black played rook d7 and white finally resigned. A very instructive game in which we have seen how black used the Scandinavian defense, which is a very interesting and easy defense to play.